40.4 40.4 40.4 40.4. Hello, I am Sean Winters. We're here in B2's Black Box Experimental Studio in the Atlas Institute at the University of Colorado at Boulder. Today we'll be doing our first hybrid event, the continuation, with an in-person audience here in the studio and a remote guest taking control of the 40.4 spatial array. Before I forget, please keep all questions until the end of the presentation. Our guest today will be doing a workshop. Our guest today will be doing an artist talk. We did the workshop earlier, live from France. So aujourd'hui, nous avons Eric Raynaud. So today we'll be joined by Eric Raynaud, who will be doing an artist talk about his project Fraction. Eric's bio: Eric Raynaud, aka Fraction, is a sound artist, composer of experimental electronic music, and creator of audiovisual creations, whose work is particularly interested in forms of sound immersion and their interactions with visual media. The XP project was initiated in 2019 during an artistic research residency at Ircam and further explored in partnership with the SAT in Montreal. The objective is to improve immersive audio-visual creation using interactions between spatialized sound and generative visual synthesis. A couple quick thank yous. At B2, thank you to Ondine Geary and Stephen Frost. At the Department of Critical Media Practices, thank you to Terry Reed. And I would also like to thank Ircam and the SAT in Montreal for supporting Eric's work and all the other places that Eric has performed and done residencies. Last but not least, big thank you to Eric Raynaud. So merci beaucoup, bienvenue.
Good morning, everyone. It's almost 7 here in Paris. Happy to be with you again. I started a bit earlier with a workshop on XP, which is still on the screen right now. This system that aims to democratize spatial audio work within the popular framework of Ableton. Which I think really could be helpful for a lot of people, at least to start his journey in the spatial audio. And when Sean proposed me to make a talk, I was wondering what would be interesting for you as an electronic music class to understand. What took me from who I was a couple years ago to this, because the road was pretty wide. I mean, I don't have academic background, so I pretty much became step by step what I'm now, like all of artists, I guess. But maybe the difference is because more I get old, more I'm doing some kind of developing academic kind of stuff, working on theory, on developing software and stuff like that. And actually the story didn't started far from there. So I named that talk Slow Cooking because first of all, I like cooking and I'm really slow. I really slowly became what I'm now. What put me to, let's say, to the very late step, which is XP. So I wanted to show you my story because maybe it could help you to get inspired about the different path your future career in the music in general could lead you to. You don't have only to make electronic music. You can do so much different things. And for me, at least from my point of view, it really helped me to keep like this. The enthusiasm, the curiosity, and doing all kind of stuff also allows me a bit to keep to have some kind of living, because sadly doing only music right right now it's a bit complicated for the artist in general. So you have to, let's say, to increase the number of your skills. I mean, so I wanted to talk to you about this, my own experience of becoming what I'm now, like new media artist. So it's all started in the 90s. Yeah, I'm old, already old. And I actually started as like most of the people, like music in the electronic music, as a musician. I was a guitarist and vaguely, unfortunately, singer. We released a couple of albums, and then I get in touch with the samplers about 10 years after Aphex Twin. If you know Aphex Twin, he started to release electronic music early in the 90s, but I started very late after him. So I bought a GCM 900 Marshall at the end of the 90s, while other people were buying a samplers. Nice move. Maybe it was already like a bad move. I would tell you more about these amps that you see on these pictures later. But that was a good time because at that time we start to have computer affordable for everyone, and we had this kind of home studio DIY kind explosion everywhere. People, start to get a computer and start to record your own stuff, and this changed a lot of stuff. For the dynamic of the scene. And so I slowly moved from the guitar to computer. So maybe I'm not sure what age you are, but probably you are born around the 2000s somehow. So these pictures looks like history already, like around the time. You have on the left the mastering of an album I've done in early 2003, and myself with my first computer, like very, very heavy PC. With a beautiful, everything is nice on these pictures, isn't it? But the real stuff for me started in 2004, where I actually moved to the US, buying this computer because I had this band, but I left the band, so I had to be able to keep doing music. So I decided to buy a computer and start to learn electronic music alone. Production, everything from scratch. I just left, so I went to live to Boston a couple of years around 2004. At that time, so my first move was buying Cubase because Cubase was nice. People were using it on Atari ST, and it was super nice. So and randomly, I started to use a Reactor from Native Instruments that I'm still using a lot. For me, it's one of the best virtual digital synthesizers, that covers all kind of stuff from the samplers and everything. It's super nice. And also I got some Ableton at that time. It's funny because funny story around those periods, we were spending more time trying to download files from peer-to-peer network than to really use them. So it would take you hours of downloading stuff. But so you would spend days of looking for software. Was pretty cool. And I'll start to play with an art collective at that time, where we're exploring ecstatic experience with sound for performance that could last for hours. And this is really influenced me after, because, I came over in the US, I was like a basic guitarist doing noise, basically. And then I discovered some kind of arty, kind of different way to address performance and music in general. And I was with my computer starting to improvise with the Reactor in live. So we were around 2004. It was very, it kind of influenced everything what I've done after this. So we start to play. I start to play with other guys in basements with computers. It was, when I see this picture, it's very funny because all this equipment looks old now, but at that time it was super cutting edge stuff. and I start to play around in the US. I show you on the right this picture because it was in Chicago, actually, like in empty bottle, if I think, because nobody had a computer on stage. While in Europe, we already had a lot of people performing electronic music, even in clubs and stuff like that. But in the US, it's also a difference that still it's very strong now that a lot of people play with computer, like on tour and in the Europe, a bit less in the US, where the venue remains mostly rock venues and not really for electronic. Anyways, I experienced this and it was pretty cool. So I went back to France in 2008 and I got signed on a French label that eventually became big here. I released with them a couple of EPs. I put one foot in the industry, tons of stuff, and probably seeing this now, it was a big mistake, because when you get in a label, they are trying to make you making money, doing, shaping the way the stuff you have to do, So I think for a lot of people, it fits in. For me, it was I lost all of. I think it was a mistake now, because it kept me doing stuff in music while my own inner inspiration was doing experimental performing, all kind of stuff that with more freedom at some point. And so one funny story, for instance, like, because I started to tour in Europe in clubs and stuff, doing electronica. At the time, it was even 15 years after FX Twin, we would still playing electronica, and the guy in the club would tell me, like, we book you, but at midnight you have to feed the cows, because they want to be, they want to dance. So I was like, okay, maybe this industry around the club music is not for me, because if you have so much constraint that they expect you to do something, while for me, art is to give people what they don't expect. So I think at some point I say, I'm not sure if I should remain around this area, but I actually did a couple of years doing this. I put this. That's from my first LP. Actually, what a label does when they release an EP, they send like the tracks to people so they can listen, they can give their opinion, and then they're going to talk about it, and they're going to use it for marketing and stuff like that. I always feel, I know this is how the industry is working, but I always feel uncomfortable with this for couple of reasons. So I was like at the age of 2010, I was like, why? What I'm gonna do here? I'm back in France, and my only horizon is doing electronic music. I had so much appetite for much more than that, and slowly, by step by step, I started to get interested by digital art, because digital art were the place where a lot of stuff was happening at that time. A lot of new stuff, unseen stuff. It was very new, very like you could feel the freedom of people walking around this. It was it attracted me a lot. I said, maybe there's a place for electronic music and such stuff. So I start to dig the stuff. And in 2011, I made the first installation. It was a kind of hybrid performance named Dromos for a festival in Rennes in France, named Electronica. They changed the name now, but that was my very first step in digital art. I was still doing music, but in live with spatial sound. And at that time, I was only using Reactor, a bit of Ableton, but Reactor, they had like some modules where you can pan music quite easily. So I was like, yeah, I like Reactor. Why not using this? And that was my first step into digital art. And it was in collaboration with an artist named Mautic, and you can check, he's doing visual stuff. And we had like this sketching a piece of art, designing where we put the speakers, the LED, performers, audience. You have to design the computer network, everything. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, I wasn't familiar with that. As I said, I'm not from an academic. I'm, let's say, self-taught. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So it was 2011. And so I started to get less and less involved in the music, traditional music scenes in general, like releasing stuff. I was like, no, this is where I feel free. But the real change in my career, my vision of electronic music or music composition happened in 2013, where we took this first piece named Dromos, and we made a piece for the Mustec Festival in Montreal. And it was for a special venue that I already mentioned this morning named Satosphere at SAT in Montreal, which is like a very big immersive dome that can host probably like around 200 people. And with 31 point of surround, which is pretty impressive. And everything started from this performance, which became very successful. So I wanted to show an extract. Let me look. Oops, sorry. I have a bit of offset when I navigate into the computer. So, sorry, Sean, the extract, it's on the desktop.
Yeah, it's right there. Extract.
Where? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Dromo. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with a couple. It's 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. We don't have to listen entirely, but just for you to figure out what this is about. It's in French, but I think they are like English subtitles.
Qui s'appelle Paul Raynaud, qui a constaté que l'influence technologique précipitait l'humanité vers une accélération continuelle et exponentielle. Lui prédit comme toute invention à effet pervers.
There is no English subtitle. So you can see that what kind of venue we're talking about. We're talking a venue where the audience is totally immersed in the medium, the sound and the visual. Okay, so I was pointing the fact that it was very impressive for me to get introduced to such a venue, and I immediately got, of course, overwhelmed by the lack of a tool we had at our disposition to play in such venue. For the little story that the performance became so famous, at least at some point, that Apple came to us to include the performance in the 30th birthday Apple ad that was supposed to be played during Super Bowl or whatever in the 2014. So it was very like a strong performance for me and him as well. Maybe I can just cut from here so you get the idea. But so what happened with this performance? So it's of course the fact that it became big helped us to install ourselves in our career. But for me, I immediately get aware that to play in such venue, you're gonna need to develop your own tools as musicians. And I was cool because I liked to play in such immersive stuff where you can overwhelm the audience with sound. Remember when I mentioned the ecstatic experience? For me, that's the best frame to accomplish such stuff, because you can just kill people's brain quite quickly, which is very nice. So yeah, so the way I was playing in such venue was quite archaic at that time, still using a reactor. I designed some device, but also using synthesizer, also Ableton. But even sad, they didn't have enough tool to propose me, to use. So it was okay, but I was like, no, I'm going to need more for further stuff. And what happened after this is like the site pretty much enjoyed, right, the performance. So they asked me to come back with the support of French institution to design another stuff that would be named Entropia. I'll show you later. And Entropia would be based on ambisonic, real-time ambisonic sounds. So it was very challenging for me because at that time I didn't mention that I didn't know to use a Max MSP at all. So I had to start to learn immediately while designing a piece in the spatial audio domain. So that was very challenging. It was a short residency, 3 or 4 months, if I can remember, but it gave me the time to really focus on learning Max and my first contact with Ircam Spat, which became later my favorite spatial audio library in Max MSP. And this is my very basically first Max patch for Entropia at the date of 2014, which looks very nice. I put some colors. Of course, they are like abstraction. It's not only this. And the challenge of using Max MSP for performance and for this residency was how do you, and it still remains an obsession for me, how do you interact with a spatial sound in general? So at that time, I made the choice to use another software to help me to control the sound in space, named Yanix. I show you Yanix. It's I show you. You will understand if I put. Did I put? Oh, but it's not this. Oh, sorry. Probably I didn't put the extract. Sorry for that. Maybe it's after, no? Oh, it's there. Sorry. Okay, I decided not to put the video. How to interact with space. So I made that choice to use a software, and I'm sorry for the hesitation. Yanix. Yanix, it's a software that helps you to design curves with mathematics. So the first version of Entropia was me distorting shapes, lines with the controllers like this. This controllers is using Lemur. Totally custom. So during that residency, I entirely customized. I made from scratch a template to use Max MSP and Yanix. So everything was controlled from this Lemur template. I'm not sure if you're using, if you know it, if you know this software. It's unfortunately it's depreciated now. I just saw that they released an update, but not sure it's still very dynamic on this side. It's sad because it was a fantastic application. So I'll show you quickly the output of that residency. The output of that residency was me performing among this light kind of LED cables, and you can see on the left what I was using, just a node rack and 2 iPads to perform the sound in space using ambisonic HOA third order. And because also my willing with data residency, I'm taking a bit of time because it's important. It's like how to interact with 3D audio without the mouse, also almost without the computer. So I wanted to perform a spatial audio like you would perform with a musical instrument. So that was pretty cool. It ended pretty well, and but at the same time, during this, I got obsessed with geodesic shapes because the domes, it's kind of geodesic inspired shapes, and at the same time, I had this proposition to design like a spatial audio system using MaxMSP by SAT. I had this opportunity to take that part of the sound work I've done to create a more ambitious pieces. And this piece was really influenced by geodesic. So I say, okay, we are in a dome. Let's put a dome inside a dome. What a silly idea, right? But there were some reason behind that. So I show you here the pictures of what it looks. So from just a sound performance piece, we designed a total show building. I'm not alone. I wasn't, of course, alone to design that work. It was a 4-people team work. With Philippe Santano helped me to design. I mean, he designed the LED sphere. We had some other friend working on the visual part. That was a big work. Everything was synchronized on 30 minutes. And I have some extract to show you. I think that's, sorry, I still have some offset. How it's look. I'll leave you check the sound. Okay. So the idea was really to be performing inside a light object, performing 3D audio inside a light object with audience around you. And pretty much all the music was written. What I was doing was mostly performing sound, spatial sound in direct, which actually was so intense that it would transform the source in something else. It was very, I was using a lot of spatial effects because it was in MaxMSP. It was easier for me to design spatial effects in MaxMSP. And the performance was very, very noisy, very intense. That was on purpose, of course. We wanted to create something radical. I told you about my relation with the label during the before. I need radicality in art, and even though now on the it doesn't look like very radical, but when you were there, we were using a lot of smoke, and the sound was quite intense, and maybe. Can you hear the sound? Is all good for you? Okay. I can move a bit until the end. So because the funny was the end. So at the end we were using this light, which is almost like a white light that increase little by little. And at the end, people, you have too many light on your face that you have to blind your eyes. It was pretty nice. You have all the credits here of my friends. It was a nice performance. I mean, and this performance learned me a lot of how to produce digital matter, covering all different kind of materials, light, visual, everything. And actually, as a matter of fact, this performance became quite a bit famous at a very small scale, but still we toured the piece around the world, like literally around the world, because we went to all the major festival everywhere. We were touring the piece only 2 people, so we would arrive 2 days before the show. It would take us 1 day to mount the structure, to cable everything, because everything arrived dismantled. So we have to plug all the cables. Everything was like for each show. So each show was like the performance itself, the building, like 2 or 3 days just for one show. So of course it's not affordable. So the piece was very expensive to produce, but we had a lot of fun, and I think the audience as well. So we stopped touring it in 2018. We we were like not big in Japan, big in China. They built a dome on the top of a building, and we were doing the performance 4 times a day, like, China still, like on a row. So we were performing like 2 or 3 hours a day. It was crazy. It was sold out for a month. Pretty cool. So it was that. Of course, that piece is a piece of my art, but I learned so much of produce design with that piece, and how the electronic music is important also in digital art, because electronic or music in general, this is where energy is, right? This is the emotion is in music, and you shouldn't forget this anytime. Music is very, very important. Just a bit before that, after we were still touring that piece, but I feel the need now to design my visual content, and because I was okay on music, I was like, okay, the next step is like I want to create my own visual, because I wanted the sound and the visual to be super strong together, and I was too much disappointed by the lack sometimes of coherence between sound and visual. In music, as a musician, you have a strong understanding of the dynamic of a sound, and sometimes visual artists they don't understand your intention. So I said to myself, okay, maybe the best way to do it is like to learn how to make visual art. So I started to do my first performance in 2017 with generative visual using Jitter in Max. In Max MSP, Jitter is a library to make a visual in Max, which is less powerful than some other software like Touch Designer, for instance. But because I was confident with the Max MSP environment, it was easier for me to learn Jitter. That first performance was like, the idea behind was like to take just one mesh. A mesh, it's a geometric in 3D that you can transform to how with only one mesh you can transmit emotion and dynamic to the audience with sound. So it was kind of synesthetic experience at some point. On the visual part, it was very, very, very simple, but everything was. Everything was. I could interact with visual, with sound. It was very organic in a way, very like in symbiosis way. So it looks on the visual part. This is the patch is Max. This is only the visual part that was controlling the visual. It's taken from a patch in 2021 because, as a matter of fact, it's a performance that I'm still touring. I was still touring. The pandemic quite changed stuff, but I was still touring this. I think I've. And this is the setup for that performance. You again 2 iPads. I think it's a fantastic tool. Lemur, I really enjoy Lemur because you can just customize your interface and make it something that is connected to your own patch is super, super nice. So it's, touring with this is light. It's just one bag, one computer, two iPad, and you can just travel for cheap in all the clubs in Europe. You don't have you remember the big structures that we have to ship 2 days in advance, to take 1 day to build. So that was the counterpoint of the other one. And some pictures. So I've been touring it since 2017 in the major festival in Europe and elsewhere. Actually, you know what? I played this performance in Iran, in Tehran, and it was super nice. Something to know, in Iran, they have a very strong artistic community, and they used to have a big festival for digital art. It was amazing audience. I have some extract, maybe. Yeah, I have some extract. Let me very quick, so you can get my main, let's say, feature in general is I like intensity and radicality. So this performance is also quite intense. Very that. I will start with this one first. Which one is this one? It's taken just from the last festival in September in Italy. So it's a quick Instagram stuff, but you can see that it's very connected. I mean, with my gesture, my interaction in live. I really like this performance, even though it looks super simple. I have another extract from the same performance. I'm closing this. This time it's in Centre Pompidou in Paris, so bigger stage. You can see the same kind of energy. Of course, I just picked the part with the stroboscope. So something to know is everything in that piece was handled with Ableton. So even the stroboscope was controlled through Max for Live from Ableton. So the show, I wrote the entire show in Ableton. It was controlling everything. So I can come to a venue and, you plug just everything in DMX. And I think that was my intention as well, to have, touring, because sometimes the constraints are too complicated on the budget, and you have to learn how to tour alone and to propose something affordable for the venues. Okay, let's move on. And that leads me to a new cycle of artistic residency. Remember this SAT one? And then I went into a big cycle of artistic residency, very on the research for two projects. Bardo, taken from Bardo Toldol, very mystical book, at Budapest in Hungary on 4D sound. It was designing, I will explain later, and Symbiosis at Ircam would lead me to XP, the software I introduced this morning, before. So let's move on, because I see the time moving on. Bardo was, so it's a bit edgy, maybe a bit hard to understand. It was to be able to use a sonic imprint of existing architectural building to create a virtual acoustic world within an immersive space. To do so, I intensively use what we called a multi-channel convolution, if it does make sense to you, to make measure acoustic of a building. So the first draft of the project was going in all of this place to make impulse response measurements. Of course, I've never got the budget to do this, so I had to focus on a couple of places. I have some pictures here of what it is, impulse response measurement. We, in these two cases, we use Hagen mic. It's a spherical microphone built in Vermont, I think, made of 32 capsules. So it's going to make an impulse response of the entire room where it is placed. And my idea behind was to use this within a system partially made in Max, and also using the 4D system. Actually, I was creating like some kind of subspace bubbles within this. It could deserve a 1 hour talk because it was very conceptual, but it worked very well, very well. So that was my session actually. So I designed a very specific Max for Life device that I put in Ableton to control the impulse response within this virtual space that I was building inside the 4D sound. But this residency inspired me a lot for what came next. Do we have still time? Or?
Yeah, take your time. We're good.
Okay, and the funny story, something very for me was that fed my soul a lot. It's like I met a guy named Yegor Reznikov. It's a French, probably Russian origin, philosopher and mathematician, professor whose theory is like, on the parietal caves, the drawing and the points, the people were living there were at space where the cave were the most resonating. So we went to some caves to visit stuff with him, and we make a small. It's a bit long, so maybe we don't have time to. I just make a quick shot. Oh, the sound? No. Okay. So that project was in collaboration with 4D Sound. So we follow Yegor in a cave in France, where he would go to this drawing on the wall of the caves, and he was explaining why it was important for them to sing or to sing at those places. And what he says about this is super interesting. I'm not sure we have time, but that was a very strong human experience. Yegor is very old now. He's doing this since decades. His theory it's very interesting, and I heard that some people in Stanford are doing kind of research around this as well now, because it's a cross subject in between sociology, philosophy, history, music, how the sound was important back days. So if you have time, you can go, and it's on my Vimeo. You can go and watch the full length of this documentary. We can just move a bit of. So it's in English, but it explains the shamanic ritual at the time of the prehistory. Why it was important, why the sound was so important. So it was very, very, as a musician, I never remember where I started. I never imagined that could lead me there. Never. So just as I see the time flying, I'm moving on. To the second residency that matters a lot for me. It's like a residency that I started 2018 at Ircam. There was probably, when I started to be a musician 20 years ago, there were probably 0% of chance that I could get in the Ircam, because I'm from the countryside without any academic background. The probability for you to get in such institution is close to zero. So for me, I put myself a lot of pressure on this. It was very complicated because the project was extremely. You can read the subject. That's my responsibility. I decided the project. The project was super ambitious on two aspects. Too ambitious because the technical, the hardware that would be involved would would be too big, and the coding would be too not too less efficient. So actually, that residency, I spent months of coding. I show you some sketch. Was a bit fail. I have to admit that, because I had some objective and I never reached the objective. But anyways, in the meantime, I was getting aware that it's going to lead me to a dead end. So I changed my destination and started to work on something else that I was supposed to present in 2020. In 2020, not sure about you, but on my side, a lot of happened in 2020. Remember, the first 4D sound project got canceled. The restitution got canceled. Symbiosis, I was supposed to present the result of residency in SAT in Montreal in March, like a week after the beginning of the pandemic. It got canceled. And actually, you know what? I have the double bonus. It's like I was supposed to present the restitution of the residency after a new show that was going on in SAT named Ethereal. So it was like a big month. March was a really big month. That's a picture taken from the piece that was going on in March 2020 at SAT. That got canceled in the middle. I can show you a quick extract. I didn't make any visual on this one. That was my friend Louis-Philippe. We were exploring different kind of stuff, but mostly like 3D models. So people are inside this. You know, you'll see the audience are downside. So this got canceled. Everything got canceled. So I was like, okay, pandemic. And that show was super nice because at that time we were also, I didn't show you, but we were using lasers within the audience, just at, at above them. But it was pretty cool. So for me, it was another matter that we never used so far. The light, the laser light was super nice. So, I went through all this cancellation. I didn't went through actually. I just changed because everything got canceled. I started to spend my life coding Max MSP, and everything got literally canceled. The first stuff that I got, a couple of installation was keep going on. Excuse me. That we present in Russia again at the end of 2021. So everything in this is made by Max MSP. The sound is made by Max MSP, the visual, everything. It's an installation about the disappearance of ice in the world. So it's a real-time kind of installation. So in this piece, I learned how to use online data and use them as an array to create a digital art piece. And all the drops are generated by the numbers and also the sound. I'm not sure if you can hear the sound, but everything is made in Max. So between 2020 and 2022, my level of Max was good, but I went even deeper to that's the installation I just presented. And before reaching the last point, I'm still doing audio-visual performance, and the last one is named Ritual for Dying Planet. So sorry, miss a T. It's a brand new audio performance that I just presented in October in a festival in Europe, where this time I'm using not mesh-based shapes, but more shader-based textures. Which gives you this kind of stuff. I will. Still super edgy, but as you can see, it's more like textural. It's like if one day you get interested by visual art in general, you have to learn that shader is running on a GPU and not on CPU. So you can access a different kind of textures, and you can make stuff that are more organic, more reactive as well. And I'm really excited by this performance. It's pretty cool. So it's a new one. It's a new one. I really like that. Let's see where it goes from now. I performed it again last month, but as you can see, this kind of, it's all made by computer. You would say it's almost like a picture of, movies. It's all made with code, actually. But the real stuff, my final step, the big boss, is that during the last year, a bit more now, I started to code like very hard this XP for live, a system that a bit represent what I synthesize what I became, like that relies on visual technology because it's using an OpenGL system. That also offer autonomy, freedom, creativity, and future. So I actually became a bit a developer, because now I'm making much more JavaScript code than making sound. But I designed that software more like an art piece than a software, and it's something that I want to keep for the future of this baby. I want this to be a place where we. I don't know, that inspire me at first, and then people who are going to use it. As I said, it synthesizes me. Since that's the final step of evolution. I have no idea where it's going to lead me, but that's a final step. I think that was supposed to be video, but it's on PDF. So next, I'm not sure about next. What I hope my story show you, it's like as an artist, I strongly believe that there are no stuff that you are not allowed to do. You have to get to allow yourself to try stuff and to keep the curiosity and to keep the enthusiasm, and it can open you so many doors that you never expect. And at the end, I think that could be helpful for your own career and to find your own path into the work of musician. Thank you.
40.4 40.4 40.4 40.4 40.4 40.4